The process of creative problem solving, as per Loy, 1996, passes through three different stages. The very first stage in the process is problem identification and definition. The second stage refers to decision making and involves creating and selecting options. The third stage is planning and organizing for implementation. As far as the first stage is concerned, the very first step is to identify the apparent problem. Now, say for example, that the industry has market share of 40%, but the industry wants that the market share of its product should be 60%. So the apparent problem identified is that market share is lesser than the desired state. The second step includes analysis of the causes for which the market share is restricted to 40%. So, data and information are required to find out the causes which have led to 40% market share. And there may not be one reason, but a number of reasons why market share is 40% for a particular product. Maybe the marketing strategy which is used by the people is not appropriate. Maybe the people who are involved in marketing of the product, they don't possess the competence to do that. Another reason may be there are untapped or there is untapped market which has not been tapped by the industry. So there can be number of reasons for which the market share is only 40%. Then another step that is taken at problem identification and definition stages to prioritize the reasons. Which reason would you like to address? And then you would like to define the problem in terms of the reason or the cause which need to be addressed on a priority basis. Maybe you zero down to that there has been untapped market which needs to be tapped to increase the market share of a product to 60%. Once the problem has been defined, the next step is to create or generate a list of ideas and options to address the problem. And here, a number of creative thinking techniques can be utilized to generate ideas or options. The principle of deferred judgment is applied when ideas or options are generated for finding solution to the problem. So the people, there is freewheeling of ideas and there is no evaluation which is carried out at this stage. One can go in for brainstorming, brain writing, nominal group technique. One could go in for attribute listing, scamper, etc. to generate a large number of ideas. And after generation of number of ideas comes the stage of selection of ideas or options. Now here each idea or option is evaluated against certain criteria. Maybe you are trying to evaluate the feasibility of idea which can be used or implemented to address the problem, and you can again use number of techniques which may include preparing an evaluation matrix, going in for paired comparison of alternatives, or maybe must versus wants, or maybe you have long term, medium term, short term as a criteria for selection of an idea or option. So, decision making involves two important steps: generation of large number of ideas and option without evaluation, and then evaluation of each idea or option to select the best idea or option which can be implemented to address the problem. The third stage involves planning and organizing, and here a number of questions are to be answered by the team. That is preparing an action plan. What needs to be done? What activities need to be undertaken? Who are the people who need to be involved? What resources would be required to implement the idea? What time schedules will be used? What kind of approvals need to be undertaken, etc., etc. So, a detailed action plan is prepared in advance to ensure smooth implementation or successful implementation of the idea which has been selected. Once the idea action plan is ready, then the idea is ready for implementation. Isaacson et al., they have given a similar process with a little difference in it. Now, if you look at the stages as proposed by Isaacson, the very first stage in the process of creative problem solving again remains understanding the challenge. Now, understanding the challenge, they try to explain it in terms of how that situation is viewed as an opportunity, and then the data and information they are collected to explore the reasons, and then on the basis of the identified reason the problem is formulated, and generation of ideas, which was at the second stage in the Loeb process of decision making, that comes at the first stage in the Isaacson model. So, again, creativity techniques are used to generate ideas with a deferred judgment. Once ideas have been generated, then the best idea or the option is selected by evaluating the various options or ideas. So, that is what is referred to as developing solution to meet the challenge or to encash upon the opportunity. Then comes building acceptance. So the organization needs to identify who are the assisters and who are going to be the resistors to the change or implementation of new idea. So assisters, they will facilitate the implementation, while resistors will create blockage or create hindrance in the process of implementation of idea. Building acceptance involves reaching the consensus and getting a support from the people who will be involved at various stages of implementation of the new option or the idea or the best solution which has been accepted to address the challenge. Planning approach, as was done in the previous model, preparing an action plan, here it comes that appraising the task and designing the process. Appraising the task means breaking down the idea into activities which need to be undertaken and finding out who will be involved in implementation, what resources would be required. It is more or less the action plan which needs to be prepared to implement the idea. So, the procedure, how one would go, what will be the first step, next step, third step, and so on. So, the process is chalked out to implement the idea. So, in other words, one can see the similarity between the two models of the creative problem solving process, that any creative problem solving would involve identifying the problem or the challenge or the opportunity that exists, diagnosing the causes for the problem or the factors that impinge upon the challenge, and then generating ideas after defining the problem, and then evaluating the various ideas and options to select the best option which needs to be implemented to address the problem or the challenge or to encash upon the opportunity, and then preparing an action plan for implementation of the idea.